Time on the college campus here at UNK. And before COVID hit a year ago, I was just starting to go around and speak on many university campuses. So that slowed down, but we're still able to do some things online and over Zoom and things like that. But what I've found is the college culture today, by and large, is really negative towards not just a Christian worldview, but a theistic worldview. And we saw that even with Professor Simon's testimony. Even when it's not, and I'll say this, even when you're in a setting where people aren't condemning it, it's just looked at as fairy tale, right? It's just not discussed. It doesn't even come into the conversations. And so oftentimes the church, students that are raised in the church are then sent off to the college, and there they realize, wow, either people are against Christians, or they just don't care about it at all, and you don't need God. And so they just really start to fall away. I think you said it this morning. Is it by their junior year in college that so many are saying that were raised in the church are now saying, well, no, Christianity is false. They leave the church and they're now atheists or agnostics. But you also pointed out that really, when did that unbelief start?
Yeah, well, you polled these juniors in college, and so you're not a Christian now. But you were a Christian in high school. Well, yeah. Well, when did you really first not think it was true anymore? Actually, it was while they were still in high school, while they were still with us. They just, the university is more than happy to welcome your unbelieving son or daughter into a secular worldview. But that's not where they became unbelievers. That's the myth that we keep on thinking. And we did our best, and those darn colleges no, it's not happening there. It's happening while they're here. You know why? It's the glowing rectangle. It's the glowing rectangle. The minute you're willing to give this, and by the way, I'm not going to give my son a glowing rectangle until he's 15. Do his friends have one? Too late. It's the glowing rectangle. This is where all skepticism enters, right? Because you will see all kinds of unsupported stuff online.
Yeah. But to answer your question, it's vital to hit the college campuses because that's the battleground right now, and either that's where students are beginning to really lose their faith and be supported and cheered on for pitching their faith. But it's also a place where I see it as the last chance for most, for at least for many young people, and that's why I spend so much time focused on college students and fighting those battles there. And it's just awesome when you can see students either keep their faith, come back to it, get it for the first time, and then see professors. I mean, Professor Simon, I don't know if Don, are you here tonight? All right, I think she was here this morning. But,
yeah, I think she was.
It could be argued that her class was responsible for so much of the atheism on campus, and now she's a Christian, still teaching the same science classes, saying, "Hey, go to Sunday school." There's no contradiction,
right?
And so, yeah, if you can get students before they go out into the real world to see that, wow, Christianity is true, it makes a difference. We've got evidence for it. Then you send them out, and then they're going to go make a difference wherever God sends them. So.
You know what's so interesting, too, about this? Our kids have been fed a lie. We have been fed a lie that this is so irrelevant to the Enlightenment period in which we live. Like that we've all, good thinkers, have dropped this notion that there's a supernatural being, that there's a God, that Jesus is true. Do you guys realize, I just was writing a book on the impact that Jesus has had in culture. I don't know if you realize this, but the scientific revolution, which is what it's called in the 16th century, right, is dominated by Christians. If you take a bump and you actually chart out the progress of science, you will see that the progress of science begins, curiously, after Jesus. And coincides with the formation of the cathedral schools and the monastic schools, the monasteries, Christian monasteries, rises again when those become the first three universities, which were formed by Christians at Bologna, Paris, and Oxford, jumps again at the printing press, Christian. Jumps again at the Reformation, which just precedes the scientific revolution. Every father of every scientific discipline, who's the father of modern chemistry? Who's the father of modern astronomy? Who's the co-father of quantum mechanics? Who's the father of evolutionary theory? It's not Darwin. All Christians. Every major scientific discipline, I went through and listed them all. 950 Christians, fathers of all modern science. still alive. New sciences, computer sciences, quantum theory sciences, Christians. Who wins more Nobel Science Awards than anyone else? Christians. 3 times more than the next group, which are Jewish. 6 times more than which are atheists. 6 times more than the atheists. Christians, we have dominated the sciences. If we're going to release the sciences now, shame on us. We're responsible for the scientific revolution because our worldview allowed science to thrive. An orderly God who is distinct from his creation, who creates in an orderly way that we can investigate, because as we do this, we learn more about the book of nature, and we, in essence, think God's thoughts after him. That idea in science was transformative. We have to realize that we own the history of education, the history of science, the history of literature, the history of music, the history of the visual arts, and every religion that follows Jesus hat tips Jesus. They make room for Jesus. If you're a Baha'i, Jesus is manifestation. If you're Muslim, Jesus is Isa, the prophet who is of greater value than Muhammad. If you are Ahmadiyyan Islam, there's room for Jesus in that as well. Every religion that precedes Jesus, if you're a Buddhist, he fits into that system. If you're a Hindu, he fits into that system. If you're a Christian, he fits into that system. Every system hat tips Jesus. Jesus, meanwhile, says, no, there's only one way to the Father, it's me. Sorry, guys. It's so interesting the impact that Jesus has had on culture, and most of us in the university system don't even get to study that stuff. You would never know that if you're in molecular biology, you'd never know that discipline was started, the father of that discipline was a Christian. Mm-hmm. And you'd never even know it.
And by the way, science is biblical. You look at Psalm 19, 1 and
Right.
2. Day after day, your creation pours forth speech.
Right.
Night after night, it delivers knowledge. So what are we seeing there? If you study God's creation, you gain knowledge. That's exactly what we call science.
Yeah, and Galileo did that too. He said, the Bible describes the way to get to heaven, not the way the heavens go. So that's something that we can fill in. That's natural revelation. You have the book of Scripture, the book of nature. Special revelation, natural revelation. These are the 2 books that God has given us to know something about him. Well, scientists get to explore the second book. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I love showing college students and professors that science is on our side. It really is. We've got the evidence, and there's different arguments that we like to use. The Kalam cosmological argument appeals to science. Professor Simon even said, that Kalam argument was important in my life. Mm-hmm. We have the fine-tuning argument, which is all about science. Science is our friend. We don't need to run from it.
Yeah, for sure.